Well, Susie, thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend a little bit of time with me, sharing a few nuggets with us. Could you just introduce yourself, say who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Susie Partridge. I'm the founder of a strategic marketing agency called Blue Feathers, which means that day to day I lead a team of 15 really high caliber marketeers, and we together deliver really high quality thinking for leaders of some of the UK's biggest brands who you'll have heard of, like Tesco, Primark, Booking.com, and University of Cambridge.
Fantastic. And how did you get into this?
Good question. So, my career followed a pretty standard sort of career path early on for someone in the world of blue chip marketing. So, I graduated with an engineering degree and a desire to move out of engineering into marketing. I looked at graduate schemes to learn the craft of marketing and landed a place on the Unilever scheme, where I started in the world of Dove and skincare. And within a year of being there, found myself running the UK launch of the Dove Real Women campaign, which puts an age on me because that campaign has now celebrated 20 years earlier this year. And I continued up that sort of classic path for about 10 years, moving between organizations to get different experiences and stepping up. And that culminated in being brand director at British Gas. But at that point, I then took a different direction. And the same month, actually, that I started the brand director role was the same month that my then boyfriend, now husband, and I bought our sailing boat, Adina. And we bought that boat to sail around the world. So later the following year, we set off on that adventure, which is obviously a whole story in itself, and spent 4 years sailing around the world. And then when we came back, that's when I set Blue Feathers up because I wanted to blend the passion that I had for helping people, which I kind of was able to do a lot of when we were on our trip in remote places. I wanted to blend that passion with the experience I'd had in marketing. So Blue Feathers came to be based on wanting to help marketeers be their best and drive their brands to succeed.
Brilliant. But so before we dig a bit deeper into this marketing company, I think we can't miss the fact that you sailed around the world for 4 years.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? And how do you assume you have to save loads of money, or maybe it doesn't cost a lot, I don't know, but how do you manage that for 4 years? Sounds like a dream.
It was a dream. It was amazing. I'm very grateful that we took the opportunity and made it happen for ourselves. So how did we make it happen? I guess the start point was wanting to do it in the first place. So when you've got a big goal, you can then work towards working out how you do it. So I wanted to sail around the world. I had started saving up to do something that's called the Clipper, which is basically a race around the world that you buy a place on. But my husband had a similar ambition in terms of wanting to sail around the world, but wanted to do it himself on his own boat. We met through sailing, and I guess as we got together and spent more time together, we realized that actually this was something we could do. And yeah, you have to save up. I mean, in some ways, the biggest cost is the boat. So, you choose the boat that you want to do the job that it's got to do for you. And then basically work towards that goal. We set one thing that we did clearly is we set a departure date. A bit risky when you're reliant on the weather, but we needed a specific date that we knew everything had to work towards. So then we knew when we had to stop work. We therefore knew the money we would have. You can start to sort of set frameworks and plan essentially. And then once you're underway, you are living in a very different way to on land. So you're living very self-sufficiently, self-reliantly, and you're in a community. It's probably the most amazing community I've lived in, is a community on the water. So you may not always be physically together with these boats, but you're connected. I mean, now if we were going now, there is even so much more connection through many more social channels, but you're all supporting each other and you're all making it happen, and you've all got skills to throw in. You're constantly just helping each other to make it happen.
Fantastic. It's fascinating. And did you set out to do 4 years, or did that change?
That's a good question, and I laugh because we knew it would be somewhere between 3 and 5, and it ended up being 4 years. I may have told us a small white lie to my parents that it was only going to be a couple of years, but when after 2 years we still weren't even halfway round, obviously it started to become clear that this was a bigger thing. But by then everyone was used to it.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. One day I might have to take you to lunch to find out a bit more detail about all this, because
I
this is
can bore you with all the stories.
it's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, really brilliant. So tell us a bit about the business. As you said, you had a bit of a corporate background and stuff. So
Yeah.
and how did you get going? You told me a little bit about using that journey to get a few doors opened, is it?
Yeah. So when we came back, we'd decided, or I had decided and supported by my husband, who's a co-director, to set the business up. But of course, we're a service business, so service businesses need clients. And so, where do you start? I tapped into my old network, so all the people I used to work with or worked for, and started looking people up and sort of used the line, I'm back from sailing around the world, kind of like, I've survived. It would be great to catch up over coffee and talk about what I'm doing. And that is where the conversation started. Just, I guess, putting it out there that this was what I was doing, and looking for people who were looking for support.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So becoming the founder of a business can be a daunting thing. I mean, setting it up. It's funny. I was on the radio this morning and they asked about how, setting up a business. I said, well, that's the easy bit, because I mean, you just tell HMRC that you're self-employed or register as a limited company. I think it's 25 quid. It used to be a tenner. Now it's 25 quid. That's the easy bit. You could do that today. You're ready to roll. But where do you go next? So you get these clients, and how do you then, you've got to convince them, this startup company, you've got to convince them that you can help them and support them in what they do. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, good question. And it's I think it's a couple of things. So first of all, a phrase that I got told is, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So by tapping into people who I've worked with before, I was tapping into people who I knew me, I believed they trusted me, and I believed they liked me. And at the heart of Blue Feathers it's about delivering marketing excellence, and that is about high caliber, high quality marketing, which was always my approach. So it was what I was known for in what I had done in my career before heading off sailing. So I was really trading on that. I was trading on my background and my connections, knowledge of my background, and that's still true today in many ways, in the sense that has now transferred in terms of we're clear that we work at a high level of marketing, a high level of strategic thinking, and we have grown predominantly through the repeat business that we've had from our clients. So that is great in its own right, in terms of that ongoing relationship and partnership that we have with them, but then in addition, it's a way of, for people who know us less well, being able to build that credibility, by being able to explain that, giving them access to some of the clients we work with, to understand how we work and what they get from it.
Makes sense. Now, I understand marketing. Well, here's a story for you. I thought I understood marketing because I got a very high pass, my highest mark on my MBA many years ago for marketing. So I thought I knew what marketing was.
Congratulations. Very
And
good.
then when I went to Action Coach, I realized I didn't even know what marketing was. I didn't know the difference between marketing and sales. I didn't even know there was a thing, so a difference. So it just shows that sometimes academically it's all good to learn it in a book, but in the real world, it's a different ball game. But so
Yeah.
when I work with small companies, they usually
Yeah.
want to promote a product or a service, and it's quite simple.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's easy to make sales, but it's simple in terms of here's one or two products, here's one or
Right.
two services that I do. How do
Yeah.
you market Tesco?
Well, we support a very large machine that together as a huge collection of people at Tesco and other agencies market Tesco. So we work at the strategic end of marketing. So what I mean by that is that we do some of the upfront thinking that ultimately leads to the briefs for products and campaigns that you as a customer consumer later see in the market. So as an example of something we've done with Tesco, one of the areas that we work in is we talk about how we help develop powerful propositions. Now, by proposition, we mean a product or a service or an experience that a brand like Tesco offers to its customers. So, we're really proud we have a long-standing partnership with Tesco. And as part of that, we were asked to help create what is now known as Better Baskets. So that was something that was designed to help customers make better buying choices in relation to health and sustainability. And what we did, as I say, is that upfront thinking that helped got them really clear on what that needed to be when it came to market. And what that's done has helped customers switch to healthier food. So it's increased the sales of healthy food in Tesco and increased the number of shoppers whose baskets are made up of a higher proportion of healthy products. And how we did that was always, long journey, but always start with the customer. So the tip is thinking about who is the person that actually, you're trying to talk to achieve what you want to achieve, and what are the attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors that that group of customers all have. That's what you can tap into, and therefore that you can talk to and create to.
Mm,
And then that's what turns it into. So, as you're saying, for your clients who you work with, it's for them to be really clear, who is it I'm really going after? Who actually has the interest, has the money to buy the services or the products that I'm offering, and how do I make that appealing to them? That's at the heart.
yeah, yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, that's fascinating. And absolutely, one of the places we start to target market, we say it doesn't matter what marketing you do and how good it is. If you're not targeting the right market, you could be in trouble.
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah,
sell a Rolls Royce at Walthamstow Market could be
exactly.
a great brand, but
Not
location,
not the right place, maybe.
you're going to have problems. Yeah. So
Yeah,
target market is really important. As you said,
yeah.
you can have great product because I meet people who have great products and services, but the people who can afford to buy them don't know anything
Mm,
about them.
mm,
And it's a real challenge. And as you said, in the world of social media and online, if you sell a product for 50 quid candle, say, and I go online to buy that 50 quid candle, it'll be next to loads of candles for £5 or £10. And it's very difficult to make that
yeah,
candle look fantastic when I've never heard of you.
yeah,
Why would I spend £50 on your candle when the one next to it is a tenner?
yeah.
You've got a lot of
Exactly
convincing
the
to do.
challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you've got a
yeah,
brand, then people will say, "Oh, right,
yeah,
Malone or whatever," and you say, "Yeah, 50. I'll spend 50 quid on a Harrods candle." But if
yeah,
it's a Asari candle, it might be.
yeah.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah. And that's the other side of what we do. So if, one part is that proposition piece, that's the product
Yeah.
service. Before that comes the brand. And it's exactly as you've said, it's working out who the customers are or should be for a brand, and then what you want your brand to stand for to those customers, and sort of thinking about how you're going to tap into that. So, another example there, we've worked with Cambridge International Education. So they're a business that are part of the University of Cambridge, and they are the world's leading provider of international education to all school ages, so 3 to 19. They merged 5 brands together into one to create a new sort of organization a couple of years ago. And of course, they then needed to make that clear and compelling brand to say why this evolved brand should be the one that you choose versus others. And we help them work out what that brand should stand for, grounded in the heritage of Cambridge, but looking forward into actually the sort of progressive world that we're in. And so, they found a space. It's about giving learners confidence to thrive and make impact in this changing world that we're in, but it positions them really clearly versus one competitor who is, particularly focused on technology. And it's like, actually, that isn't, Cambridge use technology, they use it really effectively, but they're not going all out like this other one does. So it starts to pull you apart as to what appeals. What appeals is the credibility, the heritage, and what that means for the future. So it's working out, what you've got and what matters.
Yeah, so you got to really get to know your clients, as I said, on a personal level, isn't it? Their history and what they believe in, their values, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you mentioned that obviously you've got a team of staff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you get the best out of them? This is really one of the big challenges. It's great when it's on your own. As soon
Yeah.
as you expand to people
Yeah.
and they're not necessarily right in front of you every day, how do you
Yeah.
get the best out of them? How do you work that?
Yeah, good question. So I think, I mean, a lot of this is about the principles of leading any team, but important for us, I think what's probably worth mentioning at this point is that we're a fully remote business. So the way that we look at this is grounded in that. So, we have a team that are based from Cornwall in the south up to Buxton near Manchester and also over in Germany. And we come together for team days, plus meetings on projects and workshops with clients as we need. But we're set up in this way to enable our team to live the lifestyles that they want, which means that in return, they bring their absolute best to Blue Feathers and therefore our clients. Now, the clients don't necessarily need to know or have to know about the sort of the details of the remote side, but what does matter is that we then get the best from people. And over time we've developed a few kind of beliefs that underpin how we work, and one of them is seeing that we do our best work when life is balanced. So this what it means is that we've got, as I've said before, high caliber thinkers, but we're enabling them to live the life they want. So we have one lady in the team who is, flex means different things to different people, and the need for it is different for different people. We've got one lady in the team who is a dog psychologist alongside being a principal strategist at Blue Feathers. We have one lady who runs the marketing for her partner's craft gin business, alongside being at Blue Feathers. We have a couple of team members who are carers for other family members. So for whatever reason that you need the balance, because it's personal and it's of course we've got parents in the team as well. But what it means is they have the time and the headspace to do that. But then when they come to work in their workspace for Blue Feathers, they're fully focused and they're fully committed, because actually around it we've enabled that lifestyle. And I do genuinely see and believe that it means we get the best from people by doing that.
No, 100%. Yeah, I'm a long advocate, long before COVID, of home working. When
Yeah.
my children were young, it was fantastic. I mean, I never took a day off sick, because if I had a bit of a sniffle or whatever, I was working from home anyway. And if
Yeah.
they had, the classic thing, they've got chicken pox or something, they've got to be off school for a week or two.
Yeah.
But they're just here pottering around, give them things to
Yeah.
do, and it all worked.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's phenomenal, and we see the world's completely
Yeah.
changed the attitude to
I
that, hasn't
mean,
it?
yeah, totally. And look, I think, I can see there are scenarios where you do need the office. When I think back to my early career at Unilever, I learned so much without knowing I was learning by watching leaders, seeing how they engage, seeing how they absorb. So I do understand and see that, it is still, it's not that there's not a place for it. It is needed. It's just recognizing that in certain businesses and careers like yours, again, a senior experienced service business like yours, like ours, actually we get more in this way. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
you know, it's where it's appropriate and where it's needed, I think.
No, 100%. Yeah. When you've got more entry level people, it's a little bit trickier because they haven't got
You
that
need
experience and that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. They need different support, and we have to recognize that and recognize how that would be given.
Yeah. It was quite funny during COVID where a lot of construction companies, the front line said, "You abandon us," because all the so-called white collar construction people could work from home. But of course, the
Yeah,
government said construction workers could start
yeah,
work again. And they
yeah,
felt totally abandoned because none of the offices
yeah,
were open.
and
They
not
were just on site
supported.
by themselves.
Yeah,
And
that's
everybody else
tough.
was at home doing banana bread and whatever they were doing. They said they felt totally abandoned.
Hopefully working hard from home as
Hopefully
well.
working hard in between doing the washing and bits and pieces. But you know, if it works in terms of, as you said, the production that they deliver,
Mm,
it's phenomenal. Because you know,
yeah,
3 o'clock you wouldn't find me. Between 3 and 4, I'd probably be at the park or
mm,
feeding the ducks or whatever, depending how old they were.
yeah.
But then in the evening, I'd have another surge.
And that's the point, and that's about getting the best from you because you've then had that family time, and then you're back and you're on it, and you're
Yeah,
doing your best again, which is you know which is what it's all about.
yeah, and it certainly worked for me. So that's one of the learnings that you've had. Any other learnings that you would share with us as a founder of a company like yours?
Yeah, so one of the learnings I've had would be to say that, and I mean this as a positive, but nobody cares about your business as much as you do. And as I said, I don't mean that in a slight in any way on any of my team or the suppliers, but ultimately no one else is going to be as bought in as you are, either emotionally or practically to what is done. So it's you that has to bring the passion and drive the team, come rain or shine. You are the one that's going to stay up and finalize a pitch deck for a new client or fix up a deliverable for the client. And it's you that's always going to go that extra mile, and you're the one working it out. And you, of course, you need to inspire and empower everyone around you to do as much as they can and want to support that. But you've got to be the driving force. So getting comfortable with that is really, really important. And knowing that now the buck stops with you with everything, you know, literally everything.
Yeah,
But once you get that and you embrace it, it's brilliant.
100%. I try to disentangle that with clients where they get very emotional when staff leave
Yeah,
or staff do something. And I try to explain to them that that point you made is that nobody's going to be as passionate about your business probably than you are.
yeah,
And if you accept that, doesn't mean it's okay, but if you accept that position, you might not get so worked up when a
yeah,
member of staff lets you down or something. Be a bit more expectant that it could happen rather
yeah,
than so disappointed that it happened. And you
yeah,
get so much emotional mileage and, you know, why me and this and that. And says, look, it's not you. It's just the way the
yeah,
world is, you know, it's just different, you know. And you have to remind them when they work for somebody and they kind of remember that, oh, yeah, when I worked for somebody, I did throw a sickie here and there and I did certain things. They then remember. So, uh, when it comes to success,
Mm,
does any particular people come to mind?
mm. There's a lady who I guess I've come to understand in over the past year. So about this time last year, a friend of mine, a good friend, gave me the book. It's called Let It Go, and it's by a lady called Dame Stephanie Shirley. And in mid-November, by coincidence, I had the privilege of hearing her speak at the Marketing Society conference. And so for those who haven't heard of her before, Dame Stephanie arrived in England from Austria at the start of the Second World War as a 5-year-old refugee. And
Oh,
she went on to be, I guess, what gets described as fairly as a trailblazing female entrepreneur who pioneered remote working for women in the 60s in the male-dominated software industry, um,
mm,
alongside raising and then sadly losing an autistic son. And but then later, sort of, roll forward, she's now a philanthropist and finding joy in sort of, to the title of the book, giving away what she had earned and achieved. And all of that comes from, she had a really clear desire that she was going to make her life one that was worth saving. in that context of when she arrived. And I found it really interesting. There's loads of parallels of her experiences founding a business in the 60s to mine over the past few years. And obviously, working, being a female founder, there's parallels there, but also in driving that remote working side of things as well. So I find it really motivating hearing about her drive for quality, underpinned by like that trust and empowerment in the team that we've talked about. And, she inspired excellence, and that's what I aim to do. And then, what I loved was at the conference, she's 91, and she's clearly very kind, very driven. And she talked about her continued drive even now. And I loved the phrase that, she said that she does not fritter her time away, which really inspired me. So she's, even at 91, she is choiceful about what she's doing, how she's doing it, who she's doing it for. So yeah, I recommend the book to
I've highlighted it.
pick that.
It's going to be on my, I put it on my Christmas and birthday
Yeah.
wish list. I'm going to send that on. Get me that book, please. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. And what about you then? So next steps, what do you see as the next 5 years, or is that too long to think about?
You've always got to have your vision and your goals, haven't you? Next 5 years. So, I love what we do. I love what we enable and achieve. And ultimately, what I want to do with Blue Feathers is take what we do to more brands so that we can collectively, positively impact more people. So what that means for us is continuing to grow carefully, because we need to continue to protect and grow what is special about what we do and the way that we do it. So it's finding the right people who have, who share our values about being rigorous, being helpful, stretching, pushing the boundaries, and also the right clients who themselves value marketing excellence and also want to drive that change. So it's really about taking the core of what we do and just keeping growing it in a steady, sustainable way that therefore, works for us and for a collectively, bigger group of clients that we work with.
Brilliant. And lots of people getting very, very interested and very worried at the same time about AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we talk about the future, AI is usually somewhere in that sentence. Is it having an impact on your industry yet?
Yeah, massive. So AI is already part of the marketing industry, I would say, and transforming what can be done and how things can be done. So, from a broader market perspective, if I talk about that first before I talk about what we're doing, brands, some of the things they're doing, brands are using it to personalize customer experience. So you'll see, many brands now, you're shopping online, they recommend you products based on purchase history and browsing behavior. That's AI doing that in the background, using their knowledge of you, that data, to help you and ultimately grow their order values. There's a massive amount being done in creating and optimizing content. Now, admittedly, being done to, varying degrees of success, but you've got, an easy example here would be Heinz did an AI ketchup campaign, which ran over in the US and Canada. They used an AI generator to visualize ketchup in a range of different scenarios and emphasize the strength of the brand by doing it. But what's also interesting, if I think back to, so my old brand Dove, they've actually gone a different route and they have pledged never to use AI in their communication, so the creation of content, because real beauty is at the heart of what they do, and they want to keep showing what real beauty looks like without algorithms helping. Closer to home, so at Blue Feathers, our focus on AI is all about helping to drive efficiency and thinking about how it can help us to drive more value to clients. So some simple things that we do, we use it to transcribe meetings rather than having someone type or keep notes. It means as a team, we can focus on the conversation, knowing that if our client says a really great nugget, we've got it captured and we don't have to sort of scrabble around. We're also using it to help us review and pull out key findings from research files, which we review, and interview notes that we have. But whatever we do with it, we're really clear that AI starts and ends with us. So we drive it, we control it, and we sense check it so that we're using it to enhance our thinking, but not replace our thinking in our work.
Yeah, no, I like that, and I've spoken to a lot of people who are using AI like research, and it's something I'm very interested in as well,
Powerful. It's
because
really
you can pull
powerful.
out some really interesting little bits of nuggets. Sometimes if
Mm.
somebody asks me to speak on a subject, I think actually let me just pick up a bit on AI because it puts you, it just raises things that you might not have picked up normally, and then
Yeah,
you can go and check it out in your own time and just make
yeah,
sure the sources are right and that, because sometimes
yes,
get it a bit wrong, don't they? Make up stuff that's
yeah,
not quite right. So
yeah,
you got to check it
exactly.
yourself. But it is definitely a helpful tool. I mean, there's no doubt about this. Um, so here's a scenario for you. I wish I had this chance to do it. I take out £100 million
Mhm.
and say, right, you can invest it in your company or or other companies. What would you do with £100 million?
Yeah, that would be a nice thing to happen, wouldn't it? So I would build a company that supports marketeers of all levels to learn and grow, because marketing has the power to drive so much positive impact in our world. But to do that, you need to have people who really understand the principles and can apply them for good. So, and alongside that, we see companies investing less and less in building capability and skills of their teams, which is very different to when I first worked in marketing over 20 years ago. So I would love to create a business that can enhance the abilities of the marketing community for the good of society at scale.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Great. Yeah, I like that. It's interesting about it, as you said, investing in people. Some people say, yeah, but when I invest in staff, they leave. And then Brad used to always say, yeah, but when you don't, they stay. You
It's
get
a good,
bad staff
it's
staying.
a
So
yeah,
you do need to train staff. If they leave, well, you got to take that risk. But better
yeah,
to have
that's
highly trained staff
yeah,
who leave saying positive things about you, saying, I really love working for Susie. They trained me up, they gave me my opportunity, and blah, blah, blah. Because they're in
yeah,
the industry still, they're going to talk about you.
yeah,
And they may come back. They may come back
yeah,
bigger and better.
yeah,
So, I think if you don't train staff, then it's your own loss, really.
yeah.
If you expect them to just develop by themselves, well, maybe they will, but it's a bit risky. So, just to finish off, it's been absolutely fascinating. What
Thank
tips
you.
would you leave these, people who are listening in and they're budding business owners, they want to grow their business as well? What sort of tips could you give them? Give them a bit of inspiration.
So I'll share the first top tip that I'd like to share came to me from a lady I know at a senior level in private healthcare. And that was to accept that you will never have everything done, which for someone like me who likes to have everything under control, was a hard thing. But I'm passing it on because when I unpicked it and accepted it, I found it quite liberating. And it's really, what's behind it is saying you have to prioritize, and then you got to be ruthless in seeing those priorities through, and really importantly, closing down in your mind the things that you've decided to leave behind, because that's what prioritization is. It's like you've got to leave them behind and move forward, and accept that there's a trail of a few things that don't ever get done behind you, but that's okay because you realize that they don't actually matter. And then the other thing I would say is to listen really hard. So listen to what your customers are saying, what they're not saying. Listen to your team about what's working, what's not. Listen to your competitors and what they're saying to your customers. But with all of it, don't listen to reinforce. Listen to open your mind and push your boundaries, because that's how we grow. That's how we do better. And then finally, to smile, because being a founder and running a business is a roller coaster, but a smile will take you and everyone around you through the lows as well as the highs.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, loved it. It's interesting. We have a thing, Eat the Frog. It's a Brian Tracy book
Yep,
called Eat the Frog. You've heard of it.
I
And
have, absolutely.
we
And
try
I've
and teach
followed
it.
that.
Oh, brilliant. We teach it to business owners to say, you got to prioritize. But remember the frog that you're putting off, that is often the thing you don't enjoy, but it adds value. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Because when you've
Yeah.
got no boss, You
Yeah.
can always decide not to eat the frog. You
Yeah.
just say, oh, well, I'll leave that one. But actually, you should do it.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to tell you off if you don't do it. So you really need to do it. And then I like the one about smile. A lot of people mention this about be kind in business. You can be nice in business. You don't have to be a horror. The sort of apprentice, when you watch The Apprentice, people sort of dog eat dog. I don't care what it
It
takes. I
doesn't
will
need to
step over
be.
somebody's neck to get there. Actually, it gives business a bit of a bad name. We don't have to be horrible to be in business. There's
Yeah,
no need to do that. So yeah, so brilliant. Thank you
I
so much
agree.
for your time. Really, really appreciate the time. I might have to take you up on that situation to find out a little bit more about the sailing around the world
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely. I'd love to.
But it'd be great. Keep in touch, and thank you very much for your time.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Brilliant. Thank you.